The desert wind moved across the dry fields, carrying dust and secrets. Eli Rowan, the one-armed farmer, stood on the edge of his land, watching the broken sky harvester flicker with orange light. He had rebuilt it with scrap, wire, and stubborn rope. Every morning, before the twin suns rose, he whispered the same line to himself: "Survive one more day." Once, before the war took his arm, he had dreamed of growing crops that could feed colonies across 3 worlds. Now he farmed alone, patching metal with bare hands, living on rainwater and silence. The nearest village was 10 miles away, and people there called him the Ghost Farmer. No one visited him after dark. They said the land was cursed, that strange lights moved between the fields at night. That night, as thunder rolled beyond the dunes, Eli heard something new. A faint hum. Not the sound of wind or a machine, something alive. He followed it, limping through cracked soil until he saw a fallen pod half buried in dust. Its metal glowed blue under the storm clouds. The door hissed open, and mist spilled out like breath. Inside lay a woman, her skin faintly silver, hair the color of the night sky. She blinked at him, frightened and weak. Her voice was soft, musical. "Please, help me." Eli's pulse hammered. He hadn't spoken to anyone in months. He didn't understand what species she was. Not human, but not machine either. When he tried to lift her, his metal arm sparked. Still, he carried her to his cabin, covering her with his old army coat. Rain began to fall, a slow whisper against the tin roof. When she awoke, she looked around at the small wooden room, the tools, the old photos, the single cup on the table. "You live alone?" she asked. Eli nodded. "Don't have much choice." She smiled faintly. "Now you do." He frowned, not understanding. She said her name was Lyra, from a world beyond the rim. Her ship had been attacked. She had escaped in the pod before it crashed. Eli didn't ask for more. War had taught him to leave people their secrets. For the next few days, Lyra helped around the farm. She learned fast how to use the soil filter, how to fix a harvester cable. Eli noticed something strange. Wherever she walked, the dying plants seemed to lift their leaves again. Even the air smelled fresher. But when he asked, she just smiled. "Maybe your land likes me." One evening, as they shared a meal of grain soup, a voice echoed outside, the sharp buzz of a patrol drone. Eli froze. No drone ever came this far. Lyra's face turned pale. "They found me," she whispered. Eli stood, grabbed his old rifle, and looked out the window. 2 red-eyed drones hovered above the barn, scanning. "Stay inside," he said. But Lyra rose, her eyes glowing faint silver. "Eli, please, don't fight them." Before he could stop her, she stepped into the rain. The drones locked onto her, charging their weapons. Then something unbelievable happened. The rain froze in the air, every droplet still, suspended like glass. Lyra raised her hand, and the drones fell to the ground, smoking and silent. Eli stared, heart pounding. "What are you?" he whispered. Lyra looked at him with sad eyes. "Someone who's been running a very long time." That night, Eli couldn't sleep. He sat by the window, watching the stars move behind the clouds. He remembered the strange way the machines had stopped working, the rain hanging mid-her. He wanted to ask her everything, but when he turned, Lyra was gone. The door swung open in the wind. He rushed outside and saw only footprints leading into the fields. And then, faintly, her voice again. "Find me before they do." Lightning flashed, and for a heartbeat he saw her silhouette on the ridge, glowing with blue light. Then she vanished. Eli fell to his knees. The wind carried a whisper through the crops, like the echo of prophecy. Somewhere far beyond, in the dark sky, a signal pulsed, and many eyes turned toward his lonely farm. Tomorrow, the hunt would begin. Morning came slow and red across the desert. The wind carried the smell of burned metal from the fallen drones. Eli Rowan stood beside them, squinting at the smoke. The wrecks still sizzled, their circuits melted clean through, as if lightning itself had chosen targets. He didn't understand how Lyra had done it, only that she'd saved him. And then she was gone. He searched until the suns rose high, calling her name across the dunes. No answer, only the whisper of dry grass and the low hum of the harvester. When he came back to the cabin, he found something on the table, a silver shard, small as a coin, marked with symbols that moved like water. Beneath it, a note in neat handwriting. Do not trust the patrols. I will come back when it is safe. Eli stared at the words, confused and angry. Safe? There was no such thing on this planet. He tucked the shard into his pocket and went back to work. But all day he felt eyes on him, watching from beyond the ridges. By evening, a sand truck rolled into view, leaving a trail of dust. 3 men climbed out, local enforcers in black armor, their visors reflecting the dying light. The one in front, Captain Drex, smiled without warmth. Farmer Rowan, he said. Strange readings came from your land last night. Energy spikes. Care to explain? Eli wiped sweat from his brow. Maybe the storm hit an old relay tower. Drex stepped closer. Maybe. Or maybe someone's hiding here. His boots crushed the dry soil as he walked to the barn. 2 soldiers followed, scanning with handheld sensors. The screens lit bright red. Drex turned, eyes narrowing. You know harboring off-worlders is a crime, right? Especially those with unregistered abilities. Eli's metal arm whirred softly. You think I'd hide anyone? I can barely feed myself. The captain grinned. We'll see. He ordered the men to search the cabin. Eli's heart hammered as one of them reached for the table, the place where Lyra's note had been. But the paper was gone. Only a faint shimmer of blue dust remained, like starlight scattered in air. Suddenly, the sensors beeped louder. Sir, traces of Ion's signature fresh. Drex's face darkened. She's been here. He looked at Eli. If you're lying to me, Farmer, you'll lose more than that arm. Then he turned and left, leaving the threat hanging heavy in the wind. When the trucks drove away, Eli sat on the steps, his hands shaking. The desert was quiet again, but not safe. Somewhere beyond the hills, Lyra was running from these men, maybe from worse. And somehow, her trail led straight back to him. That night, he dreamed of her voice again, soft, like music underwater. The stars remember, Eli. The soil listens. When the storm comes, stand with me. He woke to the sound of thunder, real thunder this time, and light flashing across the sky. He went outside and saw ships' dark shapes moving fast, cutting through clouds like knives. Not patrol drones this time. Bigger, military. They were searching. Eli ran to the barn, grabbed his old transmitter, and tuned to the emergency band. Static, then faintly a voice. Eli? Can you hear me? He froze. Lyra? Yes, they've tracked me. You must hide the shard. Who are they? He shouted. The Orion Syndicate. They think I stole something worth a planet's fortune. Eli blinked. Did you? A pause. It's complicated. But if they find that shard, they'll burn everything. The signal cut. Lightning flashed again, and in that instant he saw her far out near the ridge, running through the rain. Without thinking, he grabbed his coat and rifle and started after her. The wind howled, carrying sand like needles. He climbed the hill, breath harsh in his throat. At the top, he saw her kneeling beside an old tower, trying to start it. Her hands glowed faint blue. "Lyra!" he called. She turned, startled, and behind her, a beam of red light tore through the night. A syndicate craft had found them. The blast hit the tower, throwing them both to the ground. Eli rolled, coughing. Lyra lay a few feet away, her skin cracked with light. She looked at him, eyes wide with pain. "Run!" He ignored her, pulled her to her feet. "Not without you." The ship circled back, firing again. This time, Lyra raised both hands. The air shook thunder without sound, and the blast froze mid-air, glowing like glass. Then it shattered upward, sending light into the clouds. The ship spun, engines failing, and crashed beyond the horizon. Eli helped her down the hill. Her breathing was weak. "You shouldn't have come," she whispered. He half smiled. "You broke my tractor. You owe me." Lyra laughed once, then winced. "You don't understand, Eli. The shard, it's not just data. It's a key to something the Syndicate killed worlds for." "What key?" "To the Vault of Valerian," she said softly. "And if they find it, they'll own the stars." The wind screamed around them, tearing at their coats. In the distance, more lights rose, dozens of ships. The hunt wasn't over. It had only just begun. Eli looked at her, then at his land, the dry fields, the broken harvesters, the lonely sky. "Then we better make them fight for it." Lyra met his eyes, and for the first time he saw fear and trust dashed together above them. Thunder rolled like drums of war. The storm had come. The night bled into morning without sunlight. Dust clouds rolled over the valley, turning the horizon black. Eli Rowan tightened the straps on his coat and glanced at Lyra, who leaned weakly against the ruined tower. Her silver skin flickered like a dying star. "We have to move," he said. "They'll be back soon." She nodded, eyes half closed. "North," she whispered. "There's an old passage beneath the ridge. It leads to the vault." Eli didn't know what the vault was, but the word made his stomach twist. Still, he lifted her onto the hover cart and started toward the ridge. Wind lashed their faces, sand cutting like knives. The sky burned red with lightning. Somewhere behind them, engines roared, the Syndicate ships returning. They reached a field of stone pillars, tall as towers, each carved with strange marks. The storm echoed through them like a song. Lyra touched one, and light rippled across the symbols. "This place is older than your cities," she said softly. "My people built it to guard what should never have been found." Eli frowned. "Then why are we going there?" "Because they already know where it is," she said. "And only I can open it." A blast of wind nearly threw him off his feet. The hover cart toppled, spilling Lyra onto the ground. He rushed to her, helping her stand, and saw the glow under her skin growing stronger. Not just blue now, but gold. "You're burning up," he said. She shook her head. "It's the key. The shard you carry. It's part of me. It calls to the vault." He reached into his pocket and took out the silver shard. It pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. The pillars around them began to hum, their symbols lighting one by one until the whole ridge shone like dawn. Then the ground opened, slow, groaning, ancient, revealing stairs spiraling into darkness. Eli stared. "You sure about this?" Lyra smiled faintly. "No, but we don't have a choice." They descended, the air growing colder, the storm above fading into silence. The stairs ended in a wide chamber made of black crystal. At its center floated a sphere of light, calm, perfect, alive. The shard in Eli's hand vibrated, and Lyra stepped forward. "This is the heart," she whispered. "The Vault of Valerian." Eli looked around. "What's in it?" "Knowledge," she said. "Technology. The power to reshape worlds or destroy them." My family built it ages ago, when we still believed in mercy. Eli's eyes widened. Your family? Lyra turned to him, her expression gentle. I didn't lie to you, Eli. I just didn't tell you everything. I'm Lyra Elarian, heir to the Elarian dynasty. He blinked. You mean you're? She nodded. The richest family in 3 sectors. Or what's left of it. For a moment, Eli forgot the storm, the war, everything. He saw her, not as the strange woman who'd fallen from the sky, but as someone carrying the weight of galaxies. Why hide here? He asked. Because wealth doesn't stop bullets, she said quietly. The syndicate killed my family to get this vault. They think it's treasure. They don't understand it's a curse. Before he could answer, a deep rumble shook the chamber. The entrance glowed red. Syndicate soldiers were coming down the stairs. Lyra turned to him, eyes fierce now. If they reach the core, it's over. Eli gripped his rifle. Then we hold the line. He took cover behind a crystal pillar as the first shots rang out. Sparks flew, echoing through the vault like thunder. Lyra stood before the sphere, chanting words that weren't human. Energy rose around her, a storm of light. The soldiers poured in, black armor, red visors, firing without mercy. Eli returned fire, hitting one, then another, his metal arm glowing with heat. But there were too many. The floor cracked under the blasts. Lyra's voice grew louder, desperate. Eli, the key, throw it into the heart. He looked at the shard, then at her. What will happen? Trust me. She shouted without hesitation. He flung the shard toward the sphere. The light swallowed it, then burst outward, blinding white. A wave of energy rolled through the chamber, throwing the soldiers back. Eli shielded his eyes as the noise faded. When he opened them, the vault was quiet. Lyra knelt at the center, the sphere gone, absorbed into her chest. The soldiers lay unconscious, their weapons melted. She looked at Eli, her face pale but calm. It's sealed again. They can't use it. He walked to her, breath shaking. And you? I'm linked to it now, she said softly. If I leave this planet, it dies. So I'll stay. Eli stared at her, the storm outside echoing her words. You saved them all. And now you'll be trapped here? Lyra smiled sadly. I'm not alone anymore. He took her hand. The glow beneath her skin dimmed, and the vault's hum became soft, almost peaceful. Above them, the thunder eased, and a single beam of sunlight broke through the storm outside. The desert finally breathed again. The dry soil shimmered with new life. The hunt had ended, but their story was only beginning. Days passed since the storm had broken. The desert was quiet again, but not the same. The cracked soil now held traces of green. The air smelled of rain. Eli Rowan worked beside the repaired harvester, feeling the wind press warm against his face. Somewhere inside the ridge below him, a vault of Elarian slept again, sealed, silent, and breathing through Lyra. She stayed near the old tower now, weak but alive. When she walked, faint golden dust followed her steps. The power that once threatened to destroy her had settled inside her like fire under glass. The planet heals when you do, Eli said one morning, handing her a cup of Lauron mist tea he had traded for at the outpost. Lyra smiled, her eyes bright but tired. It listens to energy. You saved it when you threw the key. If you hadn't, I'd be gone, and so would this world. He looked away, embarrassed. I just did what was right. Few people do, she said softly. The wind carried a faint hum from the horizon. For a moment, Eli thought it was thunder, but then he saw the flash of metal in the distance. A ship landing. He grabbed his rifle. Visitors, he muttered. Lyra's face darkened. Not all of the syndicate died in the vault. Some always survive. Before they could hide, the ship's ramp opened and 4 figures stepped out. They weren't soldiers this time. They were diplomats, dressed in gray suits with the syndicate's spiral crest. The tallest, a man with silver hair and cold eyes, raised his hand. "We come in peace, Lady Ilarion." Lara stiffened. "That title means nothing here." The man smiled. "On the contrary, the galaxy still remembers. You hold what we seek, the living code of Ilarion. We offer you protection, wealth, power beyond measure." Eli stepped between them. "She already has what she needs. Leave." The man studied him. "The one-armed farmer," he said with a smirk. "Curious companion for a queen." His tone sharpened. "You think she loves you, farmer? You think she'll stay here in the dirt when she could command worlds?" Eli's jaw tightened. "She's free to choose." Lyra's voice cut through the air, calm and cold. "And I choose him." The syndicate envoy's smile vanished. "Then you choose war." He snapped his fingers, and the others raised compact pulse weapons. Eli dove for cover as blue fire streaked through the air. Lyra's hands glowed again, golden and fierce. The wind rose around her like a shield, bending the beams away. The ground cracked, and the envoy stumbled back, eyes wide. "Impossible. You sealed the vault." "I am the vault," Lyra said, and the storm answered her. A ring of light exploded outward, knocking the men to their knees. When the dust cleared, their weapons were slag, their eyes dazed. Eli helped her steady herself. "You can't keep using that power," he said. "It's killing you." She smiled faintly. "Maybe, but it's worth it." They buried the wrecked weapons beneath the sand. By evening, the syndicate ship was gone, its engines melted beyond repair. Yet Eli knew more would come. Power like hers would never stay secret. That night, under the stars, Lyra told him the truth she had hidden even from herself. "Before the war," she said, "my family built machines that could rewrite life itself. We thought we were helping ending hunger, healing worlds. But the syndicate twisted our research into weapons. When I escaped, I swore never to open the vault again." She looked at him, eyes glistening. "Then I met you." Eli turned the small deer of his metal arm, listening. "You're saying all this started because your people tried to fix the world?" "Yes," she whispered. "And ended up breaking it?" He nodded slowly. "Then maybe fixing it starts here." They sat in silence, the stars reflected in the sand like fallen sparks. For the first time, Lyra looked peaceful. "When I found you, Eli, I was running from my past. Now I think I was running toward you." He smiled. "You sure you want to stay with a broke farmer missing an arm?" She laughed quietly. "You have more courage than any emperor I've ever met." The night deepened, but far beyond the clouds, something watched the syndicate's main fleet moving closer through the void. On their flagship, Admiral Jorvin stood before the stars, his voice echoing through steel corridors. "Find the planet. Bring me the vault and the woman. Earn everything else." Back on the farm, Eli's radio crackled. Static at first, then a whisper, faint and urgent. "Eli, it's the OSRD. We've been tracking energy spikes from your coordinates." "Are you under attack?" He froze. "The OSRD, the Old Orthium Search and Recovery Division," his former command. The voice was familiar, maybe too familiar. "Captain Tannisark?" he asked. A pause. Then, "Yes, you were one of mine, Rowan. We're coming for you." The signal died. Lyra looked at him, worried. "Who are they?" He took a deep breath. Old friends? Or maybe the next storm. Above them, a red comet cut across the sky, a sign of ships entering orbit. The peace they'd found was ending again. Lyra reached for his hand, her voice calm. Then we face it together. Eli nodded. Together. The desert wind rose once more, carrying echoes of the past and the promise of another battle, the one that would decide whether their world live or burn. The sky above Orthian Ridge glowed red with fire. Dozens of syndicate ships cut through the clouds like black knives, their engines screaming. On the ground, dust storms twisted through the dry fields. Eli Rowan stood beside his battered harvester, rifle slung over his shoulder, eyes steady. Beside him, Lyra Ilarion watched the horizon where lightning danced between the ships. Her golden light shimmered faintly under the gray sky. "They've found us," Eli said. Lyra nodded. "And they won't stop this time. Then we stop them." She looked at him, half human, half machine, stubborn as stone, and felt a warmth she hadn't known in years. "You don't owe me this fight." He smiled softly. "You brought life back to my land. I'd say we're even." Far off, a transmission cut through the static. "This is Captain Tanis Ark of Ossard. Hold your ground, Rowan, we're inbound." Eli frowned. "Osardi's coming here?" "I didn't call them." Lyra's voice was calm, but tense. "They want the vault, too. They'll call it protection, but it's still control." Above them, thunder rolled as dropships began descending. Dust exploded where they landed, one bearing the Syndicate crest, another marked with OSRD's insignia. Two forces, two enemies, both converging on one broken ridge and one impossible secret. Lyra reached for Eli's hand. "No matter what happens, you run when I tell you." He squeezed back. Not this time. The first blasts came before the words faded. Beams of plasma tore across the sand, cutting trenches of fire. Eli ducked behind a stone pillar, returning fire. His mechanical arm whirred, reloading faster than human speed. OSRD troops clashed with Syndicate soldiers, chaos erupting in blue and red light dot in the middle of it. Lyra walked forward, slowly calm, amid the war. Her eyes glowed brighter, her voice steady like a song. "Enough?" The air stilled. The plasma bolts froze mid-flight, hanging in the air like shards of light. Soldiers stumbled, staring. The wind itself seemed to pause. Eli called out, "Lyra, stop! You'll kill yourself." She turned toward him, golden light spilling from her hands. "The vault's power is inside me, Eli. If I don't use it now, the world dies tomorrow." The Syndicate commander, Admiral Jorvin, stepped forward, his armor cracked and eyes burning. "You can't win, Lady Ilarion. Power like that never belongs to one." Lyra raised her hand, and the ground split open between them. "You destroyed my family for that power," she said. "Now feel what it cost." A storm of light erupted from the ridge. The ships above spiraled, their systems failing. OSRD and Syndicate soldiers alike dropped their weapons, blinded by the brilliance. Eli ran toward Lyra, fighting the wind that pressed against him like a wall. "You don't have to do this," he shouted. She looked at him, smiling through tears. "Yes, I do." The golden light spread outward, covering the entire valley. The vault awakened one last time. Its song rose like a heartbeat, filling the sky. Every weapon melted, every ship fell silent. The fire turned to rain dot, and then silence. When Eli opened his eyes, the battlefield was gone. The storm had vanished. The ships lay half-buried, quiet and powerless. Ossard survivors looked around in disbelief. The Syndicate troops were gone, evaporated into dust. But Lyra stood at the center of it all, motionless, her light fading. Eli ran to her and caught her as she fell. Her body was warm, but faintly glowing from within. "It's over," she whispered. "The vault's sealed forever. No one will touch it again." Tears mixed with dust on his face. "You can't leave me." She smiled weakly. "I'm not leaving." The planet needs a guardian now, and I am part of it. Her hand brushed his metal arm. You fix this world, Eli, with heart, not machines. He held her close as the last of the light faded into the soil. All around them, the desert bloomed tiny flowers pushing through the sand, the wind soft and alive again. The ridge that once was a battlefield became quiet farmland once more. Days later, Ossard ships left orbit. They called it a containment zone, but no one dared approach. Rumors spread about a woman of light, about a one-armed farmer who defied empires. Some said she became the spirit of the valley. Others said she still whispered through the crops when the wind blew at night. Eli stayed. He rebuilt his farm with quiet hands. The soil was rich again, the crops strong. Sometimes, when the sun set, he saw her reflection in the glass of the harvester smiling, watching, and when the breeze passed through the fields, it carried her voice like a gentle echo, survive one more day. He always did. Years passed on the quiet ridge. The twin suns rose and fell over green fields that once were only dust. Streams flowed again where cracks had been, and the wind smelled of rain and zarin resin. The people in nearby settlements called it the Miracle Farm. No one remembered the battle anymore, only stories of the light that saved the desert, and the one-armed man who spoke to the wind. Eli Rowan was older now. His hair had silvered, and the metal arm clicked softly as he worked. But every morning he still whispered the same line before starting his harvester. Survive one more day. The voice he'd first spoken it to, Lyra's, still lived in his mind, gentle and bright. One morning, as dawn painted the horizon gold, the sensors on his tractor beeped, something buried near the western fence. He frowned. No patrols come out this far anymore, he muttered. Digging through soft earth, his spade struck metal. A small pod rested there, sleek, silver, humming faintly. Not military. Something older. Something hers. When he touched it, the ground shimmered. A hologram rose. Lyra, exactly as she had been the last night he saw her. Calm, glowing, beautiful. If you're seeing this, Eli, her voice said softly, then the world is healing. But it needs more than light. It needs life. The hologram flickered, revealing a second object inside the pod, a seed, glowing faintly blue. This, Lyra's voice continued, is a living core, a fragment of the vault that I saved before I sealed it. It carries the memory of my world, Ilarion. Plant it beneath the ridge, and it will grow. But protect it, Eli. Someday others will come for it, not for power, but for hope. The image faded, leaving only the hum of the seed. Eli stared for a long time, heart heavy and alive at once. You always had one last plan? He whispered. He carried the seed to the ridge at sunset. The sky was crimson, the wind still warm. He dug a deep hole where the first harvest once grew and buried the glowing seed. For a moment, nothing happened. Then light seeped through the soil, slow and gentle, spreading like veins of gold beneath the earth. The air shimmered, carrying the faint scent of Laron Mist tea. That night, Eli dreamed. He was standing in a field of light, not desert, not earth, but something between worlds. Lyra stood there too, smiling. It worked, she said. He smiled back. You never really left, did you? Part of me stayed, where you are, where we planted hope. Before he could answer, thunder shook the dream. In the distance, dark ships glimmered against the stars, not Syndicate this time, but something newer. Different. When he woke, the seed had sprouted. A single tall stalk with silver leaves swayed under the morning breeze. But far on the horizon, he saw it again, a shape cutting through the clouds. A ship. He called into his old radio. "O Sar D Command, this is Rowan. You're not going to believe what I found. Static, then a clear voice. Rowan, it's Captain Ark. We thought you were dead. Not yet, he said, smiling faintly. But we may have company again. The transmission crackled. What kind of company? The kind that follows miracles. By noon, the sky darkened with shadows. The ship descended slowly, not hostile, but cautious. Its markings were unfamiliar, not Syndicate, not Ossard. The ramp opened, and a young woman stepped out. Her skin was faint silver, her eyes bright blue. "Are you Eli Rowan?" she asked. He stared. The resemblance was unmistakable. Lyra's eyes, her voice, even her calm. "Who are you?" He whispered. "My name is Erie," she said. "My mother was Lyra Ilarion." Eli's breath caught. "That's impossible. She became one with the vault." Erie smiled gently. "She lived through it, in a way. The vault was alive, and she carried a new form within it. I was born from that code, from her will to protect this world." Eli's heart pounded. "Why come here now?" "Because the Syndicate is gone, but others have noticed the light. There's a new order forming in the Outer Rim, and they want the vault's legacy." She looked toward the silver plant. "But I'm not here to take. I'm here to help defend it." Eli felt a warmth he hadn't known since the day Lyra vanished. "Then you'll need to learn to farm first," he said with a small smile. Erie laughed softly, and the sound was exactly like her mother's. "Teach me." Then, as the sun set, the two of them worked side by side, tending the glowing seed. The wind that swept across the ridge carried voices, faint echoes of the past, the whisper of a promise. Survive one more day out above them. Stars began to bloom again. The galaxy was watching, waiting, because somewhere between the light and the soil, between a farmer and an alien's daughter, the next chapter of humanity's story was already taking root.